This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Prime. In association with Micromax. Nothing like anything.
Bonjour and welcome to CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Parthankar. It is part 2 of our promised coverage of the Paris Motor Show 2014. We are at the Renault stand, as you can see, and we're going to start off by talking about this car. Now, a minivan is not the sexiest car to usually start things off with, but this is not just a significant model for Renault, but it's also perhaps one of the sexiest minivans we've seen in quite a while. The whole idea is to try and go away from being just a van or a 7-seater and go into being a bit of a crossover. So that's a nice element, which is why you've got funky sort of graphics up front, lots of LEDs, and overall just a more streamlined look. The Espace has been a bestseller for Renault in the past as well, but it's been that quintessential minivan. In fact, Renault was the first player globally to start off this segment with the Espace about 20 years ago. Now pretty much everybody operates in this space. The good news for us, even though it's a little vague at this point, is that it's not completely ruled out for a market like ours. Why is that? Because for the first time, Renault is going to look outside of just Europe when it comes to sales of the new Espace. So of course, too preliminary to start talking about anything with India, but take a look at the car and then of course we're going to go into much more. Renault certainly did put up quite the showing. The Espace, as I said, is the new age minivan according to the company, and who knows, we may be so lucky one day. It is a home show here for Renault at Paris, and one of the people most in demand here at the motor show. I've been lucky enough to get him for a few minutes. Mr. Ghosn, good to see you.
How are you?
I'm good, and very good to see you here at this nice, big, huge setup that you have in Paris. Home show, as I mentioned. It becomes crucial, I know, and a very crucial product that you're showing us as well.
It's a crucial product. It's a fresh product, so it's more a crossover, but at the same time having all the benefit of the minivan. So it's a very interesting new concept. First reaction has been so far very positive, but obviously it will come to the market in the second quarter of 2015. We'll see that.
The reason also I think it becomes interesting in India is because a lot of your decisions are sometimes independent for Renault, and then sometimes they're sort of alliance decisions as well. Given that the segment I'm speaking of is potentially high volume, in fact we're already seeing it's high volume in India, do you think it makes sense for it to be a conversation for the alliance?
Well, without any doubt, the cars built in India for the Alliance should be on the same platform. There is no doubt about it. One of the advantages of being together in India is particularly to use the same platform and use the same plant. This being said, the design is going to be different and the tuning of the car is going to be different because the brands are different. In one side you have the European taste, on the other side you have the Japanese taste. It appeals to completely different kind of customers. In fact, even in India, the cross-shopping between Nissan and Renault is very small. It's very small. So yes, it makes a lot of sense to cooperate.
The point about the more competitive segments, I mean, clearly that is where you need to have success in India for any kind of success for the alliance. CMFA is of course one particular sort of end of that. And what you've already had with a little entry with Datsun, would you say that that was an important step, or do you think it could have been a bigger step for you?
No, I think it's an important step, Datsun. Obviously, we are in the middle of it now. We launched the cars at the same time in Indonesia and India. In Indonesia, we have an undisputable success. In India, we're struggling. A part of the reason for which we are struggling is our dealer network is not ready yet, which is putting a handicap. On top of this, in India, in this segment of the market, there is much more competition than Indonesia.
Renault's alliance partner Nissan, meanwhile, showed us its new hatch, which brings back the Pulsar name. While group company Dacia had the Logi Stepway and the Sandero Stepway, an MPV and a subcompact SUV, both of which are being considered for India to complement the Duster range. Finally, staying within that family, Infiniti has quite the show-stopping concept car on display, which points to a possible Panamera rival and could easily be called one of the best concepts of the show. Infiniti is trying to, of course, entrench itself in the European space more importantly now, and so which is why seeing a diesel on the Q70 is a good thing. All of this, though, has academic interest for us back home because, yes, I have bad news. Infiniti has once again deferred its plan to enter the Indian market. It now looks like it won't happen before 2016. Staying high-end, it's the turn of the Bentley Mulsanne Speed, a massive 6.7-litre twin-turbo V8 engine with 530 bhp and a mind-boggling 1100 Nm of torque. It does 0 to 100 kmph in 4.9 seconds and has a top speed of 305 km per hour. That is blazing fast and ridiculously powerful for a super luxury sedan that also has all the other trappings of wealth and luxury. Finally, a fitting variant for the flagship car.
It did come as a surprise when the Bentley Flying Spur was faster and more powerful than the Mulsanne sedan. But now, with this, the flagship model, the Mulsanne Speed, Bentley has changed that quotient. A 6.75-litre twin-turbocharged V8 which punches out 530 brake horsepower and develops 1100 Newton meters of torque. Now with that, Bentley has brought the Mulsanne up to speed.
Audi showed off its larger 5-door TT Sportback and the very hot Roadster version. Both have been shown as concepts, but seems like a definite production direction from Audi to compete with the increasingly popular AMG compact models from Mercedes-Benz. A 2-litre engine with 400 bhp mated to a 7-speed S-tronic makes the TTS a very interesting proposition.
Yes, this is the Audi TT Sportback concept that has been unveiled here at the Paris Motor Show. It is a strange looking design because it bears no resemblance to the coupe or the Roadster in the TT family so far. But Audi insists that this concept will go into production soon. So you're going to see this as a new member of the TT family. But under the hood, it's still very much a TT, about 395 horsepower in the 2-litre engine. So that's good to see that it still retains the TT characteristics, at least under the hood, and not much so much in terms of design because it really looks like an A3 saloon.
So as you can see, the Volkswagen Group is very active. We already showed you the Lamborghini Asterion, the Skoda Fabia and the new Passat, as well as the Porsche Cayenne facelift last week. The parent brand, though, didn't just have the new generation Passat on show, there was also this. The XL1 Sport celebrates 200 million cars sold by Volkswagen the world over. It takes off from last year's fuel-efficient XL1, but it uses the Ducati Superleggera's engine.
We are here at the 2014 Paris Motor Show and checking out the XL1 Sport. Now this is based on the XL production model, but this one has a Ducati motor in it which punches out 197 brake horsepower. And looking at that, you can't imagine anywhere to go.
We started the show with the French, and now here's the other French major, PSA Peugeot Citroën. Now this is a home show for the French, and so of course there's also a lot that you're seeing from Peugeot Citroën. It is kind of sad that it is the one big automotive group outside of Chinese companies that has absolutely no presence in India still. Yes, those plans continue to be deferred. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break here on CNB. We come back with even more from the Paris Motor Show. Keep watching. Welcome back to CNB. We're across the aisle from Peugeot inside the Citroën stand right now, and the C4 Cactus has been getting so much global attention of late. Now, of course, the brand remains irrelevant to us in India, but the reason I want to talk about it is because what you can see is different funky colors. Citroën of late has really been trying very hard to go with a youthful image, and it's taking that perhaps even across a few boundaries. Look at this cladding on the side. It's got a lot of flexibility, and it just looks so different, doesn't it? Would be fantastic in our kind of really tight parking situations. And then as you come around to the front of the car, it starts to look like a concept. It doesn't look like a production car. In fact, I can tell you that this design will be up in contention for the World Car Awards as well. We've been having those discussions. It's definitely going to be a very serious contender. In fact, Citroën of late in design has been a serious contender. Look at the kind of flexibility you have in terms of the very funky looking alloy patterns. These are the different kinds of colors you can get for that side cladding, and of course lots of bright color options for the paintwork as well. So very, very different sort of an appeal coming in on the C4 Cactus. Had, of course, tremendous success and huge, monthly, quarter-on-quarter growth when it comes to your sales. But we've also seen concurrently that your investments have been sort of keeping pace with that. We've seen investment now in the new aluminum architecture. We've also had the new engine production that goes on stream. So that sort of impetus in terms of expansion, both in capacity and technology terms, will that continue for some time?
Yeah, we are going to open officially our new and the first fully fledged operations outside the UK later this month. And in addition, we are going to launch the engine manufacturing center later this month. So it's not only the car, it's a complete comprehensive package, so that we really go from one level to the next one.
We've spoken about this in the past, how you consider India your second home market. At what point do you think, now that we have a new government, sentiment seems to be changing, and it's true for the automobile space as well, at what point do you think you'll be ready for the next big push into India?
I see very, very positive signals. I hear very positive signals. So I hope for the best of the country that the economy comes back, that the economy also lifts up and creates more momentum. Why should India stand behind China? And if India gets this kind of momentum, I'm quite sure then it's the right time to come back and be even more present in India.
But already, of course, you've started to now expand the locally produced car portfolio in India. We've just had recently another variant of the XJ drive-in, which is driving out of the Pune plant. Are we now close to a point where you will start to think about either expanding that plant or looking at a new facility?
Yeah, we permanently think over whenever it's the right time to expand the already existing facility. But that means also that we have to have a critical mass to make it happen. And so we are very optimistic that whenever the economy comes back, that we are there right on time.
Thank you for speaking to us. It's always good to see you. And this time you've got something really important standing there behind you. So it's getting a lot of attention. Are you happy with that kind of attention that it's getting? Do you think that's enough attention?
Oh, absolutely. I'm delighted with the attention. It's more than I ever anticipated, actually, because you know how special this car is going to be to us, the XE. And it's important it's successful, and it's important people like it. And the attention it's getting is absolutely perfect, and I'm loving it.
The segment that you're getting into, it was always going to be competitive. We've spoken about it before, I know, but now that the car is out, people have seen it. It's got the aluminum architecture. It's got a whole lot of other, design cues as well, which are very special. But for you, what do you think is going to be the differentiator, given how crowded this segment is?
Well, it's important for us to give the car character. And although you work with a car for 2 or 3 years and you think you know it as a character, it's only when you get outside and you see it amongst other cars you realise its character. This car has got lots of character, not only just the way it behaves, the way it drives, but just visually as well, it's got a lot of character.
My last question, as always, your favourite feature?
Well, as always, my answer is going to be the big picture. It's going to be the 200-metre view. When you see it going down the road 200 metres away, I want people to turn around and look at it and see the overall shape. That to me is always the most important thing. But I love the front of the car, just as a graphic. I know it looks familiar, but it's also got cheekiness to it. It's got a kind of assertiveness to it. It's a bit like a teenager, this car, the way it looks at it's got something. It's got a sparkle in its eye. I really like that.
Mercedes-Benz took the covers off its hotly anticipated C63 AMG at Paris, and then there was the other AMG, the GT, which we've already showed you a few weeks ago on the show. The C63 AMG has two variants, the 476 bhp and the 510 bhp S version. In India, your strategy has really borne success. With the compact cars in particular, you've proved what a lot of your rivals thought wasn't possible.
I mean, altogether, our plan for expansion, our plan for leadership has as one strong ingredient the compact car segment, which is a huge segment and which, even more importantly, gives us opportunity to win over new customers, conquest sales. It does this job perfectly well. We have up to 80% conquest rate, which is kind of unheard of. Of course, India is a young market as far as the population is concerned and the car market, and therefore these cars are very well suited for the Indian market as well and will give us the momentum to go ahead in this market as well.
The GLA just arrived 2 days ago, so that's another one to start off now with its innings. But the question we've been asking for some time is, at what point do you think you'll be able to move into greater number of CKD models? Because I know with the A-Class, the B-Class, even the GLA, that question mark hangs. CLA, I know, arrives as CKD at the start of next year, but the rest?
You know that we have been the first in India to go for local manufacturing. And of course, we will try to maintain this first mover advantage. Given the plant we have, given the flexibility there, and the connection between our different vehicles, it's a relatively easy decision to add to the portfolio more vehicles. The paint shop is there. This is the main piece. So we will adjust just to market need and market demand and bring to India in production what is needed and asked for there.
One last question, sir. Given the expansion of capacity that you've recently undertaken at the plant, it's now ready and it's a 20,000 unit capacity plant. That's a sizable number compared to especially what your rivals are doing. What sort of future strategy do you see India playing, not just from a domestic market point of view, but from a region point of view, given that capacity?
I mean, certainly, first of all, this is meant to serve the Indian market, and depending on GDP and the development of a premium market within the car market altogether, we will, the only question is, earlier or later, reach that capacity with the demand in India or the other way around. And at that point of time, we have no export plans.
Next, let's take a look at Suzuki. Besides several variants of the Celerio and the facelifted Swift, in its sport avatar, the Japanese company also unveiled the new 2015 Vitara with its new part-time all-wheel drive system.
Now, one of the key launches here at the Paris Motor Show is the Suzuki Vitara SUV. Essentially, this is the production version of the IV4 concept that was unveiled in Frankfurt. In terms of design, it's a little more toned down compared to the concept, but the grille is fairly bold. You have new DRLs coming on the SUV itself. But expect this SUV to come to India in probably a year's time, and this could make things interesting, especially with Suzuki getting into this segment.
Speaking of SUVs, it's time to check out the SUV specialist from Korea, Mahindra subsidiary SsangYong. It's been over 2 years that we've been seeing XIV concepts coming from SsangYong, and now it's the two compact versions showing at Geneva, the XIV Air and the XIV Adventure. So what you're seeing here is fairly close to what the production versions of these vehicles will look like. The market debut in Korea, that's early 2015, but we'll get the Mahindra versions, if you will. Same platform, same sort of a profile, compact SUVs. Those will arrive only in the second half of 2015 and likely, of course, to stay below 4 meters, at least one of them will, to try and have a competitive pricing advantage. The question, of course, I have starts with the car that's behind you. We've been talking about this, expecting the compact platform to come in for some time now. So the relevance and importance of this for you?
Yeah, well, actually, this is the future generation platforms, and as we've been talking, Mahindra and SsangYong are developing the future platforms together, including the drivelines. As you know, actually, we have 6 engines which will get housed on both the compact as well as the future platforms of SYMC and Mahindra's. This is the compact platform, and as we have gone on record to say that in future we have, in the next 15 to 18 months, we'll have 3 new platforms. 2 of them in the UV space and 1 in the commercial space.
And you of course have also talked about how there will be a proper sharing between the 2 brands. In terms of the flexibility that this particular compact platform offers you, in terms of size and kind of vehicle, is there a lot of flexibility?
Yeah, well, actually, I think the platform is designed in such a way that it provides you the requisite flexibility to meet the varying needs of different markets, including the home markets. Both the brands operates India as well as in Korea. So the platform is pretty flexible and will help us to serve many more markets.
It's also an SUV flavor that Fiat hopes will help its new 500X. After going MPV with the 500L, now the 500 goes SUV. The compact SUV looks much nicer and cuter and more 500-like, doesn't it? It shares its platform and its underpinnings with the Panda and the Jeep Renegade. Now this Jeep Renegade has been finished off in the Trailhawk kind of trim, which means you've got lots of these nice butch elements which show off a 4x4 capability. Now, Jeep may have come in for a lot of criticism, got quite badly trashed for doing basically this car, which is a kind of a rebadged and a modified Fiat 500X. But in our context, when Jeep finally makes its India entry, this becomes just such a relevant product, doesn't it? It could also fall into that sub 4 meter category if it's rejigged just a little bit, and so which is why I find this to be very, very interesting. And that's the thought I'm going to leave you with here at Paris. Please tell us how you liked our coverage. As always, we'd like to hear from you if you have anything else you want to share with us. And in the meanwhile, promise me you'll wear your seat belts. Please wear your helmets if you're on a 2-wheeler. Au revoir.